Today, I'm going to go over how to use the multi-session mapping tool in LML. And what this tool is really designed for is to make it easier to manage multi-day, multi-week drive tests where you might be juggling dozens of log files at the same time. And the way that it does that is that it lets you combine the data from any number of log files into one single easy-to-read map. So as you can see here, I can just glance at this map and I can easily tell that the filled in regions have been driven, whereas the empty regions still need test data. So the first step in using this tool is to generate this grid. The easiest way to do that is to download this tool called QGIS. It's open source, and use that. And so when you get that downloaded and you open it up, you will see this screen. So we're just going to create a new project. If I load in OpenStreetMap, and then you're going to want to zoom in on whatever region you are trying to create the grid for. So my test data is for this town, so I can zoom in on Frederick, Maryland. Once you are zoomed in, just go up to Vector, Research Tools, Create Grid. And this is where we are going to define the size of our grid tiles. So first we want to select Rectangle Polygon, and then I am going to do a 500 meter by 500 meter grid, but do whatever suits your application. To select the region, the boundaries of the grid, go over here, click Draw on Map Canvas, and then just draw a box for the region that you are going to test. And then once this is all set up, simply click Run, and it will generate the grid. And once you have this grid, if you need to, you can delete some of these tiles if you don't need them all, but I'm just going to leave them as is. To export this grid, you just need to go over to the grid, left click, go to Export Save Feature As, and we'll name it Frederick Grid. And then you are going to want to select a file location where you can find this later. So I've just created this folder, but you can put it wherever. And then you just need to click Save and OK. So now we're going to want to open LML, and before we can load that grid, we need to do one step, and that is to convert the grid to the correct format. So in order to do that, you're going to want to go up to Tool, Grid KML Converter, and then navigate to wherever you stored the file in the previous step. So in this case, I stored it in this LML Drive Test Manager folder. So I'm going to go to that and then select OK. And once I select OK, you can see LML will do the converting, and then it will store the output. And that output's going to be stored inside of an output folder inside of LML that we can find later. So now that we have our map grid, let's load it into LML. So if we go up to Setup, Map Grid Config, that will open up this configuration dropdown. And so to select a grid file, you're going to want to click this icon and then navigate to your KML grid. So if you generated it using the QGIS method, you're going to want to navigate to where LML has been installed on your computer. And then if you just open that, there will be an outputs folder that you can open, and you will find the grid there. So now the grid file has been put into this pop-up. The document ID will be the same as the file name if you use the KML converter tool. And then we are going to need to tell LML what parameter we want to use for our eventual map. So if you go over to parameter, you can go down to any of these parameters will work, but a good one is to just look at the primary cell RSRP and hit apply. Now the grid is loaded into LML. So if you go up to information and map, you will see that the grid appears. To get this to populate with data, there are two ways, and it depends on whether you've already done the testing or you want to do testing in the future. So if you are going to do the testing in the future, you do not need to do anything special. All you need to do is record the test, save the test as you normally do, and as long as this save to DB is checked, the new test will appear here, and this will update accordingly. The other method of adding new data, let's say you recorded it yesterday or sometime in the past, and you want to put it into LML, you can click this Load Data from Log File button. And let's say this is the test I want to load. If I hit Open, it will go through that file, find all the RSRP data, and load it into LML. And now that it is loaded, you can see that the entry has appeared. So if I hit apply and then go to map, the data has populated. So you can see which regions have been driven through and tested and which regions have not. Now you can mix and match these two methods. So if you wanted to go record a new drive test on this file, that would work perfectly fine. And it would just add more spaces to this grid. Now, one more thing I will mention is because this deals with log files, if you experience any issues during this process of things not populating, I recommend just closing LML and reopening it. Sometimes it takes a bit for these massive log files to get through the system. If you are interested in learning more about LML, check out some of the other videos on the Wireless Metrics YouTube channel, or check out the knowledge base linked on the Wireless Metrics website.